This video contains or may contain spoilers for Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight has a narrative that tells a really magnificent story, but it is also a video game, and so it must function like one. Specifically, it has certain gameplay mechanics or quirks that otherwise wouldn't really make sense in the universe that the story takes place in. But what if they could? After all, Team Cherry already did it by adding Menderbug to explain destroyed signposts and lights being repaired. In this video, I'll be discussing ways to make Hollow Knight's gameplay mechanics make sense along with the lore. I think the biggest thing is the knight respawning when they die, which from what I've heard is why some fans regard Steel Soul playthroughs, where the knight does not respawn if they die, as the most canon. But remember that the knight is part worm, a higher being that can die and immediately after be reborn as or transformed into another form or creature. Perhaps the knight can respawn while the other vessels couldn't because the knight is an anomaly in that only they acquired this worm ability. When they respawn, their shade is outside their shell because it already escaped upon their previous death, and the knight would not have naturally been born with void inside them anyway. Then there's the knight consuming things like the Crystal Heart and Isma's Tear. They probably don't have a mouth, so how do these things get inside them? I think their body most likely just absorbs things and that it's simply part of their nature as a vessel for things to be drawn to and taken into them like that. We also get some visual cues. For example, when the knight inspects Isma's Tear, the fruit seems to dissolve into bubbles, some of which are absorbed by the knight, giving them the fruit's power. Speaking of which, there's the knight's inventory. How can they carry so much when they're such a small creature? I think it has to do, again, with the vessel thing. There's a lot of space inside themselves to hold a large quantity of a number of different items. In this case, I guess their geo would just be held in the part of them that detaches as their shade when they die. As for soul in particular, their main storage of it seems to be inside the part of their shell that makes up their head, which is probably why the main soul gauge in the HUD has eyes that look like the knight's when there's enough soul to show them. The knight also noticeably doesn't take fall damage, even when falling from great heights. This may also have to do with their nature as part worm, part void, or both. Or their body is like a cat's in some way that makes them always land upright and therefore unharmed when they fall. Only a material that poses an actual danger of damaging their shell, such as spikes or thorns, will cause them injury when falling into it. When it comes to the masks of their health, I don't think the knight is simply wearing several detachable masks on top of their face. I think that as they complete masks out of mask shards, the new mask just sort of molds to their shell and creates a new layer of it. If one of these layers is broken through when the knight takes damage, it's still there, the knight just needs to focus soul in order to repair it. Then there's the fact that the game doesn't permanently end when you get an ending, that you just go back to that save file and it will be the way it was before you got the ending. My theory about this is actually supported by some input from Team Cherry. In this Reddit post, they revealed that every playthrough and therefore every ending of Hollow Knight is its own self-contained story. With that in mind, I think it makes sense to assume that when an ending occurs, the timeline of that playthrough just branches off into one reality in which the ending happened and another reality in which it didn't. As for how the Pantheon of Hallownest records that you've beaten it, even though doing so would cause an ending, and the Hunter's Journal records the entries for the Hollow Knight and the Radiance when defeating them results in an ending, the timeline just somehow remembers that it branched off of itself. Like in most games, the playable character in Hollow Knight becomes briefly invincible immediately after taking damage. When the knight takes damage, some void visibly leaks out of their shell. When the knight has the Shade Cloak, they can dash through solid material without taking damage. I'd say that the knight is made briefly invincible when taking damage from the void coming out of their shell when they're hit. The only thing that calls this into question is Stalwart Shell, which implies that a thicker shell is what causes the knight to remain immune to damage for a little longer. It could just be the void thing and the charm's effects working at the same time, though. When the knight is in an arena with enemies or a boss, gates go up or doors shut, which prevent them from escaping that area until the enemies or boss are defeated. I think this could be explained by the bugs of Old Hallownest attempting to trap and eliminate infected creatures. The doors or gates would be able to sense that some attackers had approached the infected creature and would shut to trap the infected thing in there until the attackers could neutralize it. Back in the day, they probably sent multiple attackers to deal with any creature or creatures, but now the bugs who filled those roles are either dead or infected husks themselves, so only the knight is left to go take care of things. Most enemies respawn in the same location they were previously, even though the knight has already killed them. In this case, it's because either new enemies of that same species keep coming, or the same corpses are once again reanimated by the infection over and over. Finally, there's the fact that the knight is only healed if they rest at a bench. They do have the option to sit in certain places without a bench, such as the Blue Lake, Marissa's Stage, and Mato's Hut, so why aren't they healed then? If we look closely at the benches in the game, they appear to have soul particles coming off of them. This soul may come from the surrounding air or have been picked up from creatures who had previously sat on that bench. Focused soul can heal the knight's masks of health, and soul concentrated in a single place on a bench will heal all of their masks at once. So what do you think? Did my explanations make sense to you? Are there any other game mechanics that could be made to make sense with the game's lore? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please be sure to give it a like, share it, check out my other Hollow Knight videos, and subscribe for more. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.